Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So I'd like to recap virtue ethics. Virtue ethics, I think, is one of the most fascinating ethical theories out there because it is, as I said yesterday, not concerned with rules. It's not telling you this, that, the other. And if you don't obey this rule, then you're a bad person. What it's saying is this: do you want to live a good life? So think right now of nature sort of coming back to life. Springtime, birds are out, flowers are popping up. Do you prefer springtime where things begin to grow, or do you prefer the middle of winter where things are dead? Most of us prefer when things are alive and growing. Think about what's your favorite vegetable? If you could only eat one vegetable and one fruit for the rest of your life, what would your vegetable be? What would your fruit be? Now consider that you have a garden. Would you like a garden that is full of that vegetable and full of that fruit? Or would you prefer a garden that is full of thorns and thistles? Because it's up to you. You get to choose. If you don't think this is interesting and you just want to have a garden full of thistles and full of thorns and be a miserable human being, then you are more than welcome to. You can go ahead and do that. This sales pitch is very different from the other ethical theories. You can be a miserable person if you want to. But if you want to be a content human being who has lived a fulfilling life, this is the way that you're going to have to do it. It's not going to come any other way. It's not. It's through the virtues. So I want you to think about the virtues like an athletic skill or a fruit or vegetable in a garden or a musical skill. They are things to be grown. They're habits. So if I play tennis and I have a really good forehand, it's consistent, it's stable, it's almost always going to come through for me. When I transfer that to morality or virtue, when I'm honest, it means that I'm consistently honest with people in my life, and very rarely do I mess up on this topic. So when we go back to the people that you wrote about that you admired, they're people with virtues. And the reason people are admirable and look like beautiful people is because they have virtues. This is what we're shooting for. We're shooting to develop as many, think of it as character skills, not athletic, not musical, not gardening, but character skills as we possibly can. And that's why the video yesterday talked about the fact that this is going to be a life of constant growth. So for those of you who enjoy the concept of self-development, this is the ethical theory that's speaking to you. And it wants you to understand that this is your life. This is about your life. This is a life or death sales pitch. Do you want the rest of your life to go well? You're going to have to develop virtues. And the ones that you don't have that affect your life negatively, you're going to have to work on them. Think of the adults in your life whose lives are broken on some level. They are missing a virtue. That's the explanation. They're missing a virtue or two or three. Having virtues allows us, and the word yesterday, the Greek word is eudaimonia, allows us to flourish. So if we go back to that concept of the garden or springtime with the flowers and the birds, flourishing means living at your absolute best, living a rich life, a meaningful life, a life that is growing as strongly and robustly as possible. That's what it means. If you have a garden that's flourishing, it's well watered, it's in the sun, and it's just exploding fruits and vegetables. That's what you want with your life. Whether you realize it or not, that is what you want. The key is that this is how you do it. So what you have to do is we have to take some inventory. And what I'm going to have you do is do a self-inventory and take a look at the virtues that you have and the virtues that you don't. and perhaps figure out where your strengths are, because we do want to play to your strengths. We don't want to emphasize just the things that you lack, because right now the strengths that you have are the things that give you friends. They're the things that make your life work and function. We need your strengths, but you also then have to take a look at your weaknesses, because you'll see how they sort of drag you down and keep your life from becoming the best that it possibly can be. So you'll see an attachment here that has a list of virtues. And what I'd like you to do is go through that list and, well, hold on, let me think about how I like to do this. I'd like to go through it with you guys. Hold on. I want to pause here and think about how I want to do this. Give me a sec. Okay. So do me a favor. Pause and open up that document that says virtue list. Open the document up, cover my face up, and just listen to me talk you through it. So when you take a look at this list, I want to actually explore just a couple of these to make sure that you understand what they mean. So let's walk through these. The ones that I think you'll understand, I'm not going to explain. The ones that I think you might not, I will. Benevolence is kindness, being a kind person. Civility is decent public behavior, like running down the street, dropping F-bombs, screaming F-bombs would be uncivil behavior. Compassion, conscientiousness is doing what you know you're supposed to do, being responsible. Cooperativeness, courage, courteousness, dependability, humility. Humility is not thinking too much of yourself. Fairness, friendliness, generosity, honesty. Industriousness is being hardworking. Justice, loyalty. Moderation is balance in your life, so not being too much this, too little that. It's sort of like yesterday on the crash course, talking about the golden mean, where you don't have excess of something and you don't have too little of something. So having balance in your life. Humor, reasonableness, self-confidence. These next two virtues are so important. I can't emphasize enough. I want you to understand the difference between them. Self-control is stopping yourself from doing things that you know that you shouldn't. Self-discipline is getting yourself to do things that you know that you should. They are what we call keystone virtues, because if you have those two virtues, it allows you to develop countless other virtues. Self-reliance, tactfulness is being able to say the right thing at the right time, being sensitive with your speech. Thoughtfulness, patience, and the two words from last week, assertiveness, because I think that that is a virtue and a skill. And vulnerability, because I think that that is a character skill. Okay, so now that we've been through those, if there are any of those that you need to have repeated, just sort of go back in this YouTube video to the point where I said the definition, or just really quickly Google the definition if you're not sure. And what I need you to do is I need you to think of 3 strengths. What are 3 of these that you're really good at? 3 that sort of define who you are as a person. And then I want you to find 3 that you might put, let's say, a frowny face beside, because there are 3 that you struggle with. You're not good at it, and you know that it impacts your life negatively because you don't have the virtue. And this is what you're going to do in the Google form. It'll give you a chance to do that self-reflection, and then we'll continue to work with it. So for those of you who are interested, there is an optional reading on that virtue list underneath. You'll see that I have 2 copies of the list of virtues because I use it to print out that way. But underneath, there is a very short 1-page reading on virtue ethics. If you still feel like you don't have a sense for it, you can see it there. But otherwise, go ahead and jump to the Google form. Thanks.